minutes. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Oh, oh God. It's another Saturday. That means another video day. It's another live stream. Here we go. That we actually have people waiting. Snuggle mode is activated, right, Ahsoka? It's activated. Let's go get started. Well, yeah, it's starting. Yeah, we give people 5-10 minutes for everyone to join in. But that is true. I am here. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. I'm new. That's good. Welcome aboard. Welcome to the family. We like new people, so more people in the hobby, more people just learning about reptiles, whether they're keeping them as pets or just want to learn about them. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Oh yeah, Ahsoka is a sweetheart when she wants to be. There's an attitude also when she wants, like most girls, right? Like nice when she wants to be mean. We use the word mean. It's a PG-friendly show. Mean when she wants to be. Dragonflight. This is Ahsoka. Yeah, talked about it out there. She's a boa constrictor. She came as a rescue and she had a very bad attitude. Okay, a very bad attitude, and didn't want to be held. Didn't want to be interacted with at all. Didn't even want to be looked at, to be honest. And she's come a real long way. She's got to live. Sometimes she has little fits still, trying to get all of that worked out of her brain. But definitely once you've had her out for 10 seconds, good to go. But we're getting there. We're almost at that 100%. I like to put them at. Oh, that's Deadpool. Deadpool, Marvel Comics character. A couple movies. Can we see Tetra? Yeah. Sure. I'll switch her out partway through the stream. It's kind of nice because I handle them in the morning when doing stuff anyways, so this gives me time to handle them just talking. Hopefully we're giving people time to join, but hopefully you guys had good holidays. Did you guys get anything cool for Christmas or whatever holiday you do celebrate, if you celebrate it? Obviously New Year's is coming, but anyone get any cool presents or anything? Something they weren't expecting? We got time for some, we have small talk time, a couple minutes still here. Actually, to be honest, sometimes the small talk time in the beginning is my favorite time, where I just get to talk to you guys about everything else. And hopefully you guys have some good plans, some family parties, whatever, coming up for New Year's. That'll be good. My husband bought me my snake, honey. She's in. Oh, cool. Is that why you want to? Is that why you want to see Tetra? Because you want to see the 20-plus-year-old female ball python and just how huge she is, knowing that and how tame she is. Right now it's 1 a.m. I'm in bed. Well, yes. Right now it's 9:15 in the morning and my day is starting. A normal ball python. That is the way to do it. I don't know if you know if she's female or not for sure, but obviously they could have. They could sex ball pythons right away. So yeah, she is. Okay, yeah, she's good, dude. And if you're not breeding her, I don't know. You guys say husband, so you're married, obviously, but I don't know how old you guys are. But like, don't be shocked if you've got a 60-year best friend now, right? That's oof, ball python. That's a long time. You have such a good pet for such a long time. 6 decades. Average is about 5 decades, but especially if you don't breed them, the females 6 decades. Okay. Yeah, so that's well, you're gonna have at least 5 decades, half century. That's fine. Um, so good. We can get in and we can start asking some. Let's see. There's this like random thing here about Q&A. What is this? Engage with your audience. Answer viewer questions live. What happens if I hit this? Start the Q&A. What does this do? I don't know. YouTube adds all these features all the time. Now there's more things when you hit the heart. Hi, ask Reptile. Let's see if this does anything. Let's see. Start Q&A. What does that do? Does that do anything? I don't know what that's doing. Oh, it'll give me a question list. Oh, okay, sweet. How do I see compared to this in the live chat? Oh, right here. Okay, sweet. So I have like the little Q&A thing. If you guys can type your questions into there, that way they don't get lost inside the chat. I actually really like that because so many people ask things and then people are commenting, and I don't want to miss anyone's question. And also, if you didn't, you can do. I don't know how easy it is for you guys to type in that Q&A question, but I just threw it up. So if it works, it works. No one's asked a question yet, so that's good. That's good. But I know if you asked a question in the live chat already, can you throw it in the Q&A so I can sort it? We'll see how it works. I don't know. Maybe it won't work at all. Double Dragon Hotel says it's very simple and easy at the top with a box. I trust her. Who knows how many menus she had to click through to see that. And you could even just copy and paste. But let me check at the top here too. Scroll down. Oh, well, Dragon, you know why I picked Ahsoka? Like the Star Wars character kind of has these colors, right? Like the different oranges and whites. So that's why. All right, what I'm going to do is I'll grab everyone's question not in the Q&A that already asked it, and then we'll go through there. Waiting for my fat, dehydrated dragon. Yes. Fat, dehydrated, overweight, and underweight. Good morning, April. Good morning. It's 4 p.m. All right, X-Wolf, and you're just like in middle day. You're good. All right. So, Leah, good morning. Is there a way to treat respiratory infections at home? Okay. We'll start there, then I'll keep going down. So Leah, that's a kind of a loaded question because unfortunately there's many ways that a reptile can get basically a respiratory infection, and the answer is yes and no. And I hate answers like that because unfortunately it depends. Get over here. It depends what is the cause of the respiratory infection. So there's two main causes and there's a bunch of other ones, but your two main causes are, one is with some type of infection and disease, and if they have bacteria or if it's viral, that has to be treated with medicine, antibiotics or antiviral medication. Um, and then the only way to know which one to use is they will swab the animal. They'll run a gram strain. They'll figure out what it is, and then they'll give it rather than a broad spectrum antibiotic, they'll give it a targeted antibiotic, and that clears up respiratory infection like that, if that's the cause of it. Sometimes, if so, here's the thing: if you don't know for sure it's a respiratory infection, because the symptoms could be similar to that, and they could swab the animal and they could see that it's non-respiratory infection, and it's something else. So it can be difficult. Sometimes you can find the medication online and you can look at to see, your animal's weight and things like that. But it's difficult if you've never done that. The other type of respiratory infection is typically due to damaged lungs, and typically that is due to dry lungs. And so think about it, the lungs are wet, right? Kind of mucousy. And that's why humidity is very important for reptiles. And you don't want it to be super dry because their lungs will dry out. And basically, when they're breathing, they're damaging their lungs. So if they have cracked lungs and dry lungs, yes, there's a way to treat that respiratory infection, typically with a humid environment and some type. You're basically making a nebulizer, and they'll say, "Hey, put your." If a snake, for instance, can happen dry lungs because sometimes people let them get really dry. Um, you put them in a warm bin that's got warm water around it, so like a bin in a bin, and then you'll put like a thing of Vicks vapor rub in there, and the menthol and all of that eucalyptus and everything that will re-moisturize and heal those cracks in the lung. But that's only if their respiratory infection uh, is due to dry lungs. If it's due to a bacteria or virus, again, it's medicine, and then which one do you do? And so I self-medicate for a lot of things for my reptiles, but that's because I know I also can look at things under a microscope and find out. So it can be difficult because one treatment, those are the two major causes, but one treatment won't fix the other one. That's the thing. And normally there are ways to help tell which one it is too, but it's difficult. And if you've it's a lot of times people will ask me like medical advice and they'll send me pictures and things. It's hard, right? Like like a doctor, you have to lay, right? It's called laying on hands, right? Like that's where that comes from. You see it in a lot of video games, but it's like you have to lay hands on that thing. You have to hold it, through experience. You know what to look for, you know what to smell, you know what to feel for. So it can be hard even just with pictures or things like that if you don't know. So yes, both can be treated at home. One is a lot easier to treat at home, and one is a lot easier to treat with a medical professional. What's your favorite domestic reptile? Well, unfortunately, X Wolf, I don't think any reptiles are classified as domesticated animals. Unfortunately, depending on who you talk to, but Savannah monitor, 100%, followed by ball python. I guess that will be in for Dragons for Life. So, what's your favorite reptile? I'm curious. Favorite reptile, Savannah monitors. I love boas. Boas live for so long. BCI, yeah, BCIs. They so really all snakes, non-bred, all snakes that live in a good stress-free environment live for a long time, and they become so smart and they bond so well with you, especially if you do get a snake that becomes very large, Burmese python, things like that. But you start them as babies with you. That's a long journey you guys have together, and the size of the snake drastically changes. 18, 19, 20 feet long, 200 plus pounds. But they're best friends with you. So it's funny because we talk about lap dogs, right? And when people have these really big lap dogs, a German Shepherd, okay, fine, but like a Saint Bernard, that's a big dog. Those mountain dogs that have like the medicine around their neck. I don't know what they are right now, but even Dalmatians, they get huge, right? And people are like, oh, remember when he was a puppy and they, now he still acts like a lap dog. Okay, sure. Yeah, I get it. You know, your 150-pound dog that used to be small. How about my 250-pound, 20-foot long Burmese python that still thinks it's a small snake like this and just wants to chill and hang out with me? It's a whole different level than lapdog, right? It's a whole or God forbid a tortoise that's 500-600 pounds but loves to cuddle and be pet by you. It's a big change, right? How often do you handle them? So my probably you're talking about my snakes, Lena, but I try to. So the word handle is interesting because like this would be handling, but I handle at least two reptiles a day like this, where it's in depth handling, out for 15, 20 minutes, things like that. But I physically interact with all my reptiles multiple times a day. Even my turtles. I'll walk by and I have a step stool by my turtles, and I'll get up there and I'll scratch my turtles' butts and their shells when they're up there and give them a good massage when they're basking. I'll walk by Simba's tank right here, and he's just sleeping and he's looking so cute. And I'll open it and I'll just pet him and I'll kiss him and I'll hug him. And then that's it for like 30 seconds. And then I'll just reclose it. He'll go back to bed and I go on with my day. So you don't when people, it's same thing with my snakes. You've seen videos. I open my snake tanks, my ball pythons when they're out, and I'll give them the scratches like this up and down their body. And then you find the itchy part and they really like that. And then you focus on that till the itchy's gone. They really look forward to that. So you don't have to pull them out and be so intrusive all the time to just interact with them. Okay. Let's see if we've caught up. No, of course not. I'm playing a game while reading this. Well, hopefully you're playing a good game. Maybe not a first-person shooter. Not all vets can do those swabs, but at least they can give broad spectrum. Yeah, right. Not all vets can do the swabs, and sometimes it's like really pointless. They'll do the swab and they'll want to send it out to a lab, but then you could be waiting weeks for a return. Even for dragons, your house humidity can get too low. Too hot, too dry outside, AC going, or too dry. Yeah, so again, with all reptiles, not just snakes, the humidity is very important. Even a desert reptile needs humidity. Now, most of the time, desert reptiles, and bearded dragons are people typically do humidity wrong because they need low humidity, like 30-35%. That's where you try to shoot for. But that's okay if it's a little drier during the day. But at night in the desert, the humidity typically peaks, right? 45, 50% on non-rainy days. So sometimes people will put little dehumidifiers in their bearded dragons enclosure because they want to keep the humidity at 30, 25%. Okay, fine. But then they let that run during the night too. And so again, as your reptile, and it's different for all reptiles. The bearded dragons, this is the most common. And as your reptile is sleeping during the night and it's just breathing, it's drying its lungs out. So you just want to be careful that you don't go to too much of the extreme either way. But just like with temperature, when you look at the ecosystem where the reptile is from, where you have a day and a night temperature, and it's typically up to 10 degrees cooler at night, you also have a daytime humidity and a nighttime humidity. So it's really important to know that you're not keeping the humidity constant 24/7 with a dehumidifier or a humidifier, unless they're from someplace that is constant, like Amazon, rainforest jungle type. So most of the time, if you can get away without a dehumidifier and you have water and you have lights in the tank and just normal venting on the side or on the top, your tank will be a little bit drier during the day. And then as that light and the heat's shut off, but you still have your big water tank in there, things like that, or even your home, your humidity will rise naturally. So it's important. If you live someplace that your heat is with natural gas in the winter time, natural gas tends to dry the air, right? When using it for heat. That's why most natural gas furnaces will have a whole home humidifier on them to put that air in there. And then if you like to have your home super cool in the summer, obviously the AC can get everything dry. It dries up the air. The AC can suck out a lot of the humidity. So even though you're temperature controlling your reptiles enclosure, but you're keeping your home really cool, You just want to keep a look on that. And it's very easy to control it either way by either misting water pool that's directly under a heat source. That way that water will evaporate more. Um, a fogger, an automatic timer, a dehumidifier, a bag of rice. So there's a lot of ways to control humidity, but sometimes people go too far to the extreme unknowingly. All right, let's keep going here. My Q&A is not working. That's fine. That's fine. So I'm not good with reptiles. I don't know much. So my question is, do you always need a heat lamp? A snake's full life. Snake heating. Most snakes, ball pythons, there's two ways to heat a snake, I should say. And it kind of depends on the snake which way they like better, although both actually work for all types of snakes. Underbelly heat or above heat, or a combination of both if you have a big enclosure. Typically, ball pythons, well, really all of your pythons really like underbelly heat. So an under tank heater or an inside the tank heater, heat mat that they can lay on. Boas generally like above tank heating because it's just do with the basking, but they can get by with either. But yes, you will need hot spots for your snake their entire life because the snake needs to thermoregulate. So it needs to warm itself and it needs to cool itself. So the snake does not stay at the heat source 24/7. In fact, most of the time they stay a little bit on the cooler side, to be honest, especially when they haven't eaten. So most snakes will warm themselves to assist with digestion because they need to get their body temperature elevated when they eat, but not all the time. People will be scared and they'll be like, oh, my snake is not heating itself when it eats. So remember, and I say this often, so if you guys have been around, sometimes you'll hear the same thing, you know the routine, but there's new people. Reptiles being cold-blooded doesn't mean they don't generate heat. It just means they don't generate heat when they're not doing anything. Humans, we're always at 98 degrees. Our body is heating to that temperature, even when I'm just sitting here staring blankly at the wall. Reptiles don't. They cool down. When reptiles eat, their body says, okay, we've eaten. We need to make heat. And their digestive process generates internal heat. When they're moving around, they're making heat, right? But they need extra heat sometimes to help with digestion. So that's when they will be basking. But they could get to the level, especially a thicker snake, a larger, thicker snake is going to suck up a lot of heat, right? So they're going to have that heat. So when they eat, they may not stay under or on the heating source the entire time. They may move to the cool side because they got hot enough, right? You preheat the oven to 250, it doesn't keep going. So they may get their body to whatever temperature they need to internally digest, move off of that heat. As it starts to cool down, they move back on that heat. If you've ever watched Gordon Ramsay make scrambled eggs, on the heat, off the heat, on the heat, off the heat. That's what they do. And they also do that during the day too when not digesting. So sometimes they'll stay for a week on the cool side. Then they're like, oh, I need to warm up a little bit, and they'll go on the warm side. But you need to always have that option available of a warm and cool side. Most lizards are a little bit different, where they will just naturally have it cooler during the night. But for snakes, I leave the warm side active since it's most of them are flat heater. I leave that active 24/7, and there's enough of a gradient because it's an under tank heater where it does not heat the natural air of the tank. It does for the hide that it's in. It can kind of control that, but so they can cool and heat up during the night even if they want. What should I do if I live in a high humidity area? Okay, so taking things out, 70% humidity in your home and you want to take your bearded dragon out, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. And they can be out for a long time in high humidity, and they can actually go for weeks in high humidity as well. Think about, again, we're talking months of prolonged extremes in either direction, although the drier happens quicker. If you think about it in the wild, there's rainstorms, there's times where it's soaking wet and the humidity will be very high. There's dry seasons and there's wet seasons. So you can take your bearded dragon out and your home has zero humidity, and you can take it out and your home has high humidity. like what I noticed with Simba when he is out and my other dragons, if they're out for a long time running around or chewing on a chew toy, they do dry up. Their mouth gets dry, even though their lungs aren't dry. And so Simba, I offer him a water bowl. Every time I put him back in, I put the water bowl and he drinks water because he's been chewing on his toys. There's a lot of saliva, it's, cotton mouth, it's dried out his mouth, and he likes to do that. So it's okay to take him out in high humidity like that first interaction time. Right? And normally you don't need to bring anything down humidity in the enclosure. If your humidity is just a little high, a dress sock, because it's thinner, filled with dry white rice, can typically adjust your humidity like 3% lower, and you just keep it in the tank. Fortunately, their intelligence and affection are underestimated. Yeah, that's true. Absolutely true. Double Dragon Hotel has given me a thank you for $10. So thank you so much, Double Dragon Hotel. That money all goes to the reptiles. This is the spiel again. Any donations, any YouTube revenue, any Patreon revenue, any GoFundMe revenue, all goes into the reptiles, food, lights, things like that. It doesn't come to my pocket. It all goes into them. So thank you. That means a lot. Also, guys, I call this out every time, but if you have questions about bearded dragons, especially Double Dragons Hotel, her YouTube channel, a lot of good information. She's kind of like me. She doesn't do all the fluff videos and the manic running around and funny skits. Education, and really good education. Numbers, data, testing, results. Very important. How do I make sure my snake is very well socialized and friendly? Yeah, Lena,